Hello, everyone. Happy New Year to all of you. It's the first Sunday of 2025, and we're off to an amazing start because today, our guest is the drummer of one of my most favorite new wave bands when I was in the Philippines, when I was a teenager in the Philippines. And I'm sure a lot of the Filipino new wavers in the Philippines are also they're also one of their favorite new wave bands as well. So I would like to dedicate this to all the Filipino new wavers, wherever you are in the world. This episode is for you. So it's just gone. It's 8 minutes past 6 here in the UK, and which means it's 8 minutes past 2 o'clock in the morning, Monday morning in Manila. I hope some of you are still awake. Some said that they will be up for it, but if you can't make it, if you have to go to work tomorrow, then you can just catch up on YouTube later or tomorrow or something. So, anyways, so yeah, welcome to the first episode of Ask the Drummer for 2025. Like I said, we're gonna do a first. This is amazing because we're gonna do a first here on Ask the Drummer because we're gonna bring in a special guest um, tonight or today, but he won't be in it till later in the show. But for now, please welcome my dear friends, Michael Sparrow. Yay!
Welcome. I shaved and made I groomed myself and shaved especially for the show.
Oh, thank you very much. I really
I,
want to
I,
say thank
I,
you.
I'm aging gracefully, as they say. I can still play the drums and my bongos, though.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah. I really want to say thank you so much for saying yes to Ask the Drummer. Because it's been a
Excellent.
while since I saw Blue Zoo in London. That was 2017,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
which is a long time.
Oh,
So how
God,
are
yeah.
you since that since that gig in Dingwalls with B Movie?
Right, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
that seems quite a long time ago. That was a fantastic gig. I think when we reformed as such, we tried a few higher profile shows and stuff like that. Obviously, you know about when we went to the Philippines, that was
yeah.
great. We actually got treated like royalty, which was fantastic. If you go to the average sort of, with respect, if you turn up at the average London show, you probably get 3 or 4 tins of Pepsi Cola and a cheese roll. Um, However, when we went to Manila and we did a handful of shows there, a Hard Rock Cafe, a couple of radio interviews, we got treated so fantastic. It was great. And I do recall we went out somewhere one early evening and it
Yeah.
was raining. And I do recall someone from the agency or the record company was actually holding an umbrella above us to keep us dry.
That's
You would
amazing.
you wouldn't get that at Clarendon High Street on a Thursday evening in the middle of January. But no, we loved it. Like I say, we when we reformed, we met up after a long time of being
Yeah.
apart, doing our separate things, etc., etc. We all basically kept fighting and stuff like that. So we met up in the Ship Pub, Wardour Street, in London, Soho. But it's just got a great air about it in there. And when we all met, we just sort of said, let's let's try and get something together again. So we did. Apart, unfortunately, Tim Parry, which was obviously uh, the actual sort of founder of the band, I suppose. He declined. He was very successful at the time, uh,
Oh,
writing, and he was a part of the publishing company with Jazz Summers, which was our original manager. Um, so Tim and I have known Jazz really from the sort of late 70s. I was in a band with Tim Parry, a
yeah.
mod band. a mod band called the Crooks. Um,
Yeah.
of
Well,
which,
we are gonna be talking about that
yeah,
later on.
we to be honest, we done really well because we try. We was a little bit older than sort of the average mob band, if you like, you know. So we did get criticised a little bit for being sort of granddads, and that was like 1978. Um, you know, but we dawned the Hush Puppies and the Crombies and the Ben Shermans. Like, it was a wave that we was just. I don't like the term, you know, jumping on the bandwagon. You know, but prior to that, I was in like a cabaret band, playing working men's clubs, briefly in a punk band. I dipped in France to do a couple of gigs, being like a teddy boy in a rockabilly band. So in terms of integrity and stuff like that, I haven't got much, to be honest. However, I've always loved music, and I like to be a part of what's going on at the time, you know. But like I say, Tim Perry declined. I think he said something like, "Oh, my guitar's still under the bed.
Oh,
I think it's still there," uh,
yeah,
which sounded like, oh, maybe, you know, but it didn't transpire.
okay.
No, not with Tim on the last particular phase.
Yeah,
My counsel has been there from the off. Uh, Bass player. We had to get another guitarist in. We had a couple of guitarists in,
yeah, yeah,
actually,
yeah.
uh, to retain the sound, and we just, yeah, let's go for it again. You know, so
Yeah, that's
so
very
so
good.
we did, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, okay. Well, I've got to welcome you to Ask the Drummer because I haven't done that yet. But so, welcome to Ask the Drummer, episode 155 is
Okay,
all about you, Michael Sparrow. Uh,
indubitably,
so, you're from North London,
yes,
um,
yes,
originally. So, yeah,
yeah.
you still live in North London? Or?
Originally North London. Actually a town called Edmonton, which is sort of next to Tottenham, where the Spurs um, ground is, the football ground is. The last time I went to see Spurs football was 1971 when I was 11.
Oh gosh.
Um, I was sort of into sport and football and stuff like that until I see Mark Bolan and T Rex play my local cinema.
Oh,
And that virtually changed my life within about 18 months. I'd learned to play the drums, and I had a recording contract by the age of 15 and a half.
oh wow. So
Yeah,
you've always been drawn to the drums, or did you try and learn other instruments, or
well,
just
funny enough, I actually, after seeing Mark Bolan and the hysteria, it triggered something massive in my mind. So I actually wanted to be Mark Bolan. So I saved up uh, all my pocket money at the time. I was still living at home with my parents, and I
yeah,
saved up for an electric guitar. Of course, I couldn't sort of play it. I used to pose with it, and I thought I looked pretty cool with it, but I couldn't play it. And I didn't realise that you had to put it through an amplifier and speakers and all this sort of stuff. So I got fed up with that idea, and then I picked up the drums quite easily because I managed to see a drum kit in an old newspaper at the time, and I picked it up at like, I don't know, sort of £40 or £50 at the time, and I
yeah,
found it so easy to just to pick it up. You know,
yeah,
I used to play, obviously, you know, Mark Bolan, T Rex. I was a bit of a rocker at the time because I got into bands like Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, uh, Hawkwind, Emerson, Lake and Palmer,
yeah,
early Yes, Pink Floyd. I've always been a big Pink Floyd fan. I always learned from that sort of age that I was sort of slightly different to the average, growing my hair and stuff like that. Even at school, uh,
yeah,
I always sort of stood out by being the odd one. at the end of the class. I've still got my last school report uh, saying that it is impossible to comment on Michael's progress because he wasn't here.
Oh, right,
I've still
okay.
got that indoors because, like I say, I joined this band, and we was playing pubs and clubs and stuff like that, and I was getting something like £4 or £5 an evening, which was like a fortnight's pocket money for me at the time.
Yeah,
So of course I was loving it. Went through that sort of stage. Then that sort of fizzled out a bit, and then I saw an advert in the Melody Maker, uh,
yeah,
the mod band, the Crooks,
the crust. Yeah,
looking for a drummer. So
yeah,
I went to audition for them, of which I got the gig, which was great. And I mean, in those handful of years, I don't know, we probably done about 6 or 8 UK tours,
yeah,
um, on our own steam, and also supporting a few artists as well. We actually supported the Police as well, which was quite funny. In their early days,
amazing. Yeah,
so on the same bill, so we've got the Crooks and the Police on the same bill. Haha. Um,
that's
and
brilliant.
and then later on, as Andy will confirm, we met I never really we didn't really meet the Police at the time. I always thought that they were outstanding. And also in early blues, it might have been modern jazz. We supported U2
Yeah, yeah,
also,
yeah.
and I believe it's one of the first times they come over from Ireland.
But can I just ask you, when you first got your drum kit, did you actually have drum lessons, or did you just teach
No,
yourself how to
I,
play it?
I taught myself, and in those days, I know sort of turntables have come around. So, say for instance, there'd be a certain song. "Schools Out" was a great one, which I learned. And
Oh,
if the drum part was too complicated, I used to put the album on the actual vinyl disc on a slower speed so that I could learn it.
oh, I see.
So say for instance, it was
So if it's a 45,
yeah. So I put it on 33. So
yeah,
there was another track that still lives with me today. "Ball and Blitz" by the Sweep.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
that took me a long time. That sort of thing. I mean, I started off by going, it drive me crazy. So back to the ironing board, the drawing board, putting it on 33. Do the bada, do the bada, do the babum, bada, do the bada, do the bada. And then all on my own, I used to drive my parents absolutely crazy. Put towels on them. Why don't you loosen the skins off? It's driving us mad. We can't watch the telly and all this sort of stuff. So yeah, no lessons. I've done it all on my own energy and steam because I wanted to conquer it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah,
and that actually, the first drum kit I got was an old Woolworths kit. It was probably the cheapest, horriblest, nastiest kit in the world. But I felt I made it sing because I learned everything on that. Uh, all the tracks. I never got into really complicated rhythms. You know,
yeah, yeah,
it was all mainstream. I used to obviously, Bowie, uh, or like early Bowie. I thought was unbelievable. Even Blitz bands, not Blitz, glam rock bands. Like I
yeah,
say,
yeah,
like
yeah,
like the Sweet, I thought was great. Even like bands like Mud, I used to really enjoy that.
oh my
All that
God,
sort of fun stuff.
yeah,
So I used to incorporate a lot of those early rhythms when the early blues zoo started, like modern jazz.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
Fortunately, I don't know quite how it happened, but fortunately, we managed to rehearse quite a lot and rehearse
yeah,
and write a lot. I don't know how we've done it, and we almost treated it like a sort of day job as such, because that sounds quite cold and calculated, but there was no pressure, and it was like, oh, we've only got 10 minutes left and all this sort of stuff. And I recall that we had many days. I think it's probably Jazz Summers, the our manager, that
The
was
manager, yeah,
funding
yeah,
the,
yeah.
the thing. And another massive influence in modern jazz was a guy called Dave Wilson, who um, played keyboards at the time,
Yeah,
and he
yeah.
was quite an extrovert. And I remember him saying to me on many occasions, "Don't go goom, ba, goom, goom, ga, goom, ga, goom, goom, ga." He'd say to me, "Go ga, goom, 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 ga, goom, goom, goom," and twist the timing round, try it back to front. Instead of playing the ride cymbal, use one of the top tom toms instead.
All
And I
right.
thought, yeah, I quite enjoy that.
Yeah.
There's an early Bluesoo track, might be, I think it was Bluesoo, called Something Familiar, of which I played the higher um, part on like a higher rototom. And it sounded so bizarre. And I remember in the studio that we all sort of laughed and thought, this sounds different and original. Like, you think, oh, you can't play that. Can't play that for 5 minutes. But we did, instead of going, yeah, with me, it's quite, it's
So,
quite annoying, but we managed to somehow maybe turn the rototom down a bit so that it wouldn't really irritate people. But even when we started playing
yeah,
something familiar again, I exactly the same drum, exactly the same technique in a track, an early modern jazz track. Oh, I shoot sheep in my sleep, which was
yeah,
a massive turning point for us because that was like almost like a tribal rhythm, And don't forget, this was probably around before, like Adam and the Ants and Bow Wow Wow
yeah,
and all that sort of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
That was a very odd rhythm of
yeah,
which a guy called Calvin Hayes
yeah,
produced
yeah.
at Rap Studios, which was a famous producer's son, Mickey Most, who was around in the sort of
Oh,
60s and the 70s. I think he'd done like New Faces or one of these big, like The Voice, that sort of
yeah,
type thing. And Mickey Most was a big noise. And I remember that Calvin, he was very artistic, and he was. And I remember at the time, don't
yeah,
forget, you had to edit. They had to get a razor blade and cut the 2-inch tape. How
yeah.
primitive is that? I know you've got all these tools that actually can do it digital now. So what we done, there was this drum rhythm that we come up with. So instead of using the snare, we used hand claps. Do you know, like obviously, like "We Will Rock You," you know, uh,
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, yeah. Like
you
Queen.
know,
Yeah,
exactly. That was with just the band and a couple of mates who were just
yeah.
stamping on floorboards like I'm doing now, and
Oh,
multi-tracking, probably spending all day multi-tracking. Obviously, you got, like I say, you've got tools to do that now. But in that particular shoot sheet, I remember playing for like maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, maybe more, and they just kept the best bit of it. So, say for instance, the song's 4 minutes, they just kept, rather than edit all the bits together of the
yeah,
good vibes, they just kept 4 minutes that sounded great. And
yeah,
instead of using uh, the snare drum, which was the original demo, we decided to use hand claps, which was very difficult because I
yeah,
remember I couldn't actually play the tom part without the snare drum. So what we had to do is put like a bath towel on the snare drum so that I was actually hitting it and it wasn't mic'd up because I couldn't actually. I remember having real trouble just playing the tom part without snare drum.
yeah.
So yeah, we kept 4 minutes of that. Got quite a few radio plays, a lot of
Yeah.
recognition from that.
Well,
And at the time, the the set list that we was doing at the time was very,
Yeah.
very experimental. It was quite moody, a little bit dark. We had like a blue light. We done one song called The Attic, of which was featured on a live TV show called The Oxford Road Show, which
Yeah.
was Andy will have to verify this. I think it was about 80,
Yeah.
81. We done a couple of songs on that. That was another fantastic rhythm, which I believe derived from
Well, since we, since you mentioned modern jazz
yeah,
already, well, maybe it's time to bring in our special guest so you can sort of like, reminisce and he can add some more information about modern jazz.
yeah,
So, so my dear friends, I'm really happy to say that we've got a special guest for you this evening on Ask the Drummer. Please welcome Mr. Andy Overall.
Hi, guys.
Yay!
Hi.
No, I've got to say, modern jazz. I really didn't know about it until I found this at work, because I work at King B Records in
right.
Manchester,
Look at
and I
those
found
clothes.
this, and immediately I thought that's blues too, but how come it's modern jazz? So can you tell us the story about modern jazz, please?
Who wants to? Me or you?
No, you do that one, Andy.
Oh yeah. How did we come up with mod? I think that was a Dave Wolfson idea, wasn't it? Modern jazz.
Yeah, I believe it was because I was just about to say Dave always sort of tried to break rules and that, and I do recall vaguely him saying that it's going to confuse so many people, but the attention will be fantastic because we was far from being a modern jazz band.
Yeah, nothing
It was
like.
just the name. We was
course.
playing modern jazz. It was just the name.
Yeah. But then there was a bit of an influx of bands with modern on the front of them.
Yes.
Yes,
So
modern romance, modern talk about modern talking.
that's right. So we thought, oh God.
Yeah.
So we changed it up. We changed it up and we confused people even more.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
where did you get Blue Zoo from? How did you come up with Blue Zoo?
Well, I without sounding too pretentious, I remember Tim saying, "Oh my God," whenever I described it. But blue was meant to sort of conjure up the kind of mood that we created, a kind of moody nuance, and the zoo bit was basically our environment from which we would observe for our songs. So the two went together quite nicely, I thought.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
It sounds better now. It doesn't sound so pretentious now.
No, but I remember, Andy. I don't know if you do. I do believe we was doing the first album that never sort of got released. Was it Jam Studios in North London? I can't remember. It was cut of paper. I do recall that we was looking for a name then, and we were sort of all going away and writing ideas on bits of paper and stuff like that. Do you remember that at all? Because I do.
Vaguely, but you got a much better memory than me.
Yeah. And I remember, you saying about Tim Parry and all that. I mean, I remember because I come up with a few ideas, and I remember just like Tim sort of like laughing, and Jazz Summers sort of like just sort of shaking his head and something like that. But I think once we come up with the Blue Zoo thing, actually that's actually sitting quite right with what we were doing at the time. And I mean, like I say, those recordings were great. Was that Lawrence Diana?
Yeah,
Andy?
Lawrence Diana did that most of that album and the first version of Love Moves in Strange Ways.
Yeah. I just remember that we were sort of. I know it sounds a bit of a cliche, but like when it's sort of like bands produce themselves and all that sort of stuff. But I remember that was a great time, very very productive that was, and I recall Lawrence Diana giving us a little bit of like a bit of a blank canvas to try and experiment with a few things, So I do remember also, I think because maybe we had that relaxed atmosphere, I think that the stuff at that particular time was maybe a bit more enjoyable for me because it's more experimental, where we wasn't really listening to too many bands outside of that. I mean, we've done a ridiculous amount of gigs and we've played with a ridiculous amount of eclectic different sort of types of genres, didn't we? But I felt at that time we did have something quite magical. And then, of course, we sort of progressed. If you want to sort of continue from that stage up until signing with Magnet.
Well,
Me?
yeah. You have mentioned
Yeah.
you have mentioned Love Moves in Strange Ways because
Uh-huh.
I'm sure you know that that's like the definitive new wave song for many Filipino new wavers because
Yeah.
you have been to the Philippines, you went there, you've seen the reaction, and
Yeah.
I don't know if this is true, but I've heard that you actually did it twice. You
Yeah,
sang
yeah.
Love Moves in Strange Ways twice because
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah, well, the second one was with Tim Freeze Green for the album, which was a much more sort of groovy version of it. And we had that very famous double bass player. I've forgotten his name.
Yeah. It's like a sort of slide bass sort of
Yeah,
thing. Yeah.
that's the one. I think that's the version that you guys in the Philippines
yes,
really
that's
like.
right. Yeah, yeah. Because
Yeah,
there's one on YouTube, and it's very different from the one
yeah,
that we know. But
yeah.
is that the original, or was it just a demo? Because it was like it's like some kind of a show, like a
That's
TV show.
I think that's the original one. I think
That's the original one. Yeah.
Yeah. The one was
I
that
think
done at the Lawrence Diana session, Andy, the original?
Yeah, I think Anna's referring to the Oxford Road show.
Oh, yeah, that was the same. Yeah,
Yeah.
obviously obviously one was live and the
Yeah.
other one was recorded.
Yeah.
I actually prefer that version, to be honest, because I remember we got that big tom sound, didn't we?
Yes.
Yeah. And it was
Yeah.
like, oh, this is
Yeah,
like,
that was my favourite. It's funny because when we put out that album with Cherry Red,
yeah,
I only put the old version on that album, and
Yeah.
so people were a bit annoyed. I didn't put the album version on there.
This one's got the one that we
Yeah.
know.
yeah. Like I say, there was an original, and I recall Andy to get. We have spoke about this before. To get your vocal, the performance that you done, I remember that you had to remove your shoes for some reason and your
Did
socks.
I?
Yeah, because it was. It sounded fantastic. All we were doing, but I remember. It's very, very, very bizarre. But when you sort of, when you might have done it on your own accord, to taking your shoes and socks off. So my guess is that you maybe have felt a little bit, I don't know, what would be the word? A bit sort of sensitive, a little bit, not frightened. I'm struggling for words now, but you
A bit more vulnerable.
That's the word. So when you tried the new approach, it was more laid back. It was more whispery. See what I mean? I think probably on your previous takes, I'm not a great singer, but it's like she waits in the dark, listens for us, all that sort of stuff. But then on the new approach, it was like, wait in the dark. You could almost feel the breath coming through. And my guess is that you were made to get really, really close to the microphone. So that personal, that you portrayed it so personal, and it's like, I remember everyone sort of going, "Whoa, this is the right approach," and that works. And to be honest, the previous, the thing is with drums and musical instruments, especially these days, you can add dynamics and all the effects that are available.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I still, you know, I know I sound a bit like Fred Flintstone again, but like to emulate that performance that you done that I'm talking about would be extremely hard to do these days with machines. You know what I mean? You can emulate anything. We can, you know, edit and stuff. I was saying to Anna a little while ago, we had 2-inch tapes, weren't there, Andy, with a razor blade,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
to do edits. So if we wanted to cut a verse in half, obviously you'd do that on the tape and get a razor blade and go like a metal. Yeah,
Yeah.
like a mitre block with a razor blade.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
And stick it all together. I mean, I believe a classic story about that is like Bohemian Rhapsody, where it took so long. There's something, I don't know, like probably over 100 edits on it with all bits stuck together with tape on the back just to make it work. And then once you know, everyone was happy with the mix, because it was like a band performance, Andy, wasn't it? I'd look after the drums. When you're mixing, you'd be doing the voice. Mike had been messing around with his bass knob, pardon the expression, a keyboard player doing a thing. It was like a performance for a mix. And it was like, oh, I forgot to add a reverb on a certain thing. So you had to stop and start the whole thing again. Wouldn't it, Andy?
Yeah.
And it was like,
going back to that song.
That shit, we got to the last chorus and you forgot to add the bloody tambourine.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
so we had to go back, have a cup of tea and a biscuit, and then have another little run through, and then go for it again. How primitive is that? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, going back to Love Moves in Strange Ways, because like I said, in the Philippines, that's the one that you're really famous for. But I found out that now that I live here in the UK, because even my colleagues, you know, my work colleagues, they're not aware of Love Moves in Strange Ways. But the one that really got you on top of the pops was Cry Boy Cry. And a lot of people love Cry Boy Cry.
Yeah.
Which I only discovered that when I was already living, you know, when I'm living here in the UK. So what was it like? Because I'm sure that, I mean, most bands in those days wanted to be on top of the pop. So what was that experience like for you?
Oh, it was the best. It's like, it's that feeling when you really think like, oh, well, I've done it now. You know? Because you spend your teenage years waiting for Top of the Pops, you know, like every Thursday night.
Thursday night, yeah.
And then you're actually on it. It's, you know, it's like a dream come true.
Yeah, it's quite surreal, because you sort of tell your friends and your family, oh, we're on Top of the Pops next week, you know, and all of a sudden, like, people sort of look at you in a different way. I remember going to my local pub at the time, and all these random people were coming up to me and talking to me, whereas they didn't before. Do you know what I mean? And it was quite weird. And the other strange bit about it was, I don't know if you remember, Andy, I think you probably do. So we was playing the same set before we done Top of the Pops. We was playing the same set to all these venues, great, fantastic. But because we was on the telly, it was like we was playing like much bigger venues, and we was just getting so much more attention. But we was playing we was wearing the same clothes, and we was playing the same set, and we had the same sound system.
Yeah.
But it just, this massive envelope opened up. Where it's like, oh, this is a bit odd.
That was the power of Top of the Pops, wasn't it?
And fantastic video, which we got a little bit of a block on it, Andy, didn't we? Because
that was a shame. Yeah, that was a shame. That.
Yeah, because it was directed by a guy called Tim Pope, which produced all the stuff for The Cure, Robert Smith from The Cure, and at that point when we recorded it, I mean, we was still probably in the previous sort of headscape, if you like. So the ideas were a little bit left field and a little bit upside down. We were still learning at the time.
Yeah,
but
that was his ideas, wasn't it, to come up with a big womb? It was like a big womb,
yeah,
like a massive womb.
we
I
putting,
was running through and pushing the sides. Like,
and we was putting our arms through like latex screens, and Andy
yeah,
had this wild face on, and there's like this 4-poster bed with all these strobe lights going, and
they thought
then
it was scary, didn't they, for kids?
yeah, I remember that they couldn't play it basically because it was apparently too scary for the kids, especially on a Saturday morning. But you had stuff like Doctor Who going about and all this sort of whatever, and I think, well, it just would have been interesting to have seen if people would have actually got that at the time and how it sort of would have developed. And then, of course,
how many times were you on Top of the Pops? Was it just that one?
No, twice.
Well,
Twice.
I think we did twice. And did they play the song on an outro on one of them?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we were on there when we was at 21.
Yeah,
in the charts, and then again when we was at 13.
yeah.
Oh, brilliant!
And then they played it on one of the outros at some point.
Yeah, it's still there on YouTube, isn't it? And then of course, after that, Andy, we didn't quite know what sort of follow-up to put out, did we?
No.
Because we had a couple in the pipeline. We had another sort of similar-ish, I suppose, track, same sort of rhythm and vibe, if you like, called "Forgive and Forget." And we also had,
I love that song.
yeah.
And that's actually quite good because you did a lot of gimmick with Forgive and Forget.
Well, the strangest thing is that we've come out of this video,
all
and
these,
then
all the heads. Yeah, they're great. They are.
Yeah.
the animal heads and stuff like that. So we've come out of this cry by cry video thing, and don't forget at that time videos were very, very, very important, almost paramount at the times. So we had Loved Ones and Angel come out, and then for some sort of reason we looked really, really colourful and maybe a little bit over happy for some strange reason, all literally between one song and the other. And like I say, it was we were kids. We were like learning at the time. We didn't really. We only sort of felt okay. Right? Well, a unanimous decision. We'll go with Loved Ones and Angel, and then we've got Forgive and Forget afterwards. We had a handful of songs that we were very, very happy with in terms of follow-ups. But of course, after sort of Angel, it sort of slowed down a little bit, Andy, didn't it?
Yeah. But they still got into the top 100. Forgive and Forget and Loved Ones and Angel and Cowboy.
Yeah, I thought Cowboy was great. That was such a fantastic.
Yeah.
It was that to me was very, very unique.
I thought at that point, that was where we were back on track.
Yeah. Because I remember you coming up to rehearsal at Loved Ones, wherever we was rehearsing at the time, and saying, "I've got this idea," saying, "What's that?" We thought it was going to be like a one-liner or something. Somewhere in the world, there's a cowboy smiling. We all go, "What?" And it's on it. You know what I mean? And we just sort of bashed through it, didn't we?
Yeah.
And we had this wild sort of keyboard line. And it was quite, that to me was, a very, very, another pivoting point where we thought, let's maybe have not a rethink, but this is sort of like the path where maybe we should look in carrying on. I don't know. There's quite a lot of songs in our repertoire, Andy, didn't we?
Yeah, we had a good lot of songs, didn't we? I mean, we weren't sort of slow at writing. We were quite Quite prolific, wasn't it?
That's a very odd noise going on to me, was it?
No, I remember back once again.
No,
I'm
that,
so
that
sorry
sound
about
was so
that.
that sound was so bizarre.
It was on a loop.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, I always say it sounds like Max Headroom because you know
Oh,
I don't know if you remember Max Headroom, but
Yeah,
he's like
yeah,
that. Yeah. But anyways, yeah, we were talking about like the songs that you've got, the repertoire that you've got, because you've got loads and you're quite prolific at the time. Because I was saying that Cry Boy Cry didn't really get to us in the Philippines, but it was somewhere in the world. There's a cowboy smiling.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
another favorite in the Philippines. So I just wanted to ask you about your gig, or how many gigs did you do in Manila? Was it just the one, or was it two?
Yeah, we played Makita, wasn't it? We played at the Rock. What was it? The Rock Cafe.
The Hard Rock Cafe.
Hard Rock Cafe, and then we played at
The other bizarre place with the casino.
That was fantastic. That was the
That was
casino, and we were about 50 foot up in the air, and there was a bar directly beneath us. So we were playing on top of a bar, and we were looking out at people playing slot machines.
Yeah, yeah. I remember because it was a fantastic stage, wasn't it, Andy? Big
It's
sound
huge,
system, massive venue.
huge stage.
And I recall,
I just hung over the edge of the stage and called the beers in, didn't I?
yeah, that's right. And I remember
I'm only joking.
kicked into the first song, and it was like people playing slot machines and roulette, and we thought this is very, very bizarre. But when we finished the first song, everyone turned around, and it was a really warm, genuine response.
Yeah.
And then when we started the second song, they returned to their machines again.
Yeah.
And we thought, look, do you remember that, Andy? It was like,
it was funny. It was almost robotic, wasn't it? It was like they'd be playing the machines while we were playing the song.
Yeah.
And then when we'd stop the song, they go, "Yay!" And then we start the next song, and they go back to the machine.
Yeah, that was great. But I remember the accommodation there because it was set in grounds, and we had some lovely apartments. And I remember there was like a little lake by it, and a pond and a waterfall and stuff like that.
Yeah, we like Mickey said, we got looked after very nicely. You know, it was very nice.
Yeah. So well fed. Because I think a lot of the bands, when they go to the Philippines, they said they're always well fed. People, which is good.
Yeah. I mean, we was. Apparently, there was a few other businesses involved. I think there was a few sort of interested parties and sponsors, etc., etc. And we was just getting taken around the best places possible, you know. And we didn't we, Andy? We had like chaperones and stuff.
Yeah.
It was like 6-star, you know, like everywhere. We couldn't actually fault it. It was absolutely fantastic, you know.
Yeah.
And of course, when we doing Love Moves, that was like a big thing.
Yes, that was
I remember, I think it was the same gig when we was all sitting around like the swimming pool one afternoon, and then like a minibus turned up with people that were going to see us that evening. They was playing Blue Zoo songs in the minibus.
Yeah.
Which was great. We felt like real superstars. We're laying down in the sun with our feet out. And there's a minibus with Blue Zoo songs, and all these like people were getting off, and it was like, yeah, we're doing all right.
Yeah, it was a great experience, really good.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So like, so Love Moves went down very, very, very. Also, obviously, Hard Rock Cafe. That was like the biggie, wasn't it? But of course, like you say, Anna, the Cowboy. That was a great one. So as soon as we sort of like started the song, the place it just went fourfold. You know, I mean, they loved all of our stuff, but yeah, those two tracks in particular.
Yeah, definitely. So, any plans of because what's new with Blue Zoo now? because it's been a long time since I saw you in 2017. It's like 8 years ago now.
Yeah, well,
What's
we've
happening?
kind of, yeah, yeah. Sorry about that. It's just we
We're all sorry about that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We carried on doing quite a few gigs and stuff like that. I think ideally we would have maybe have liked to perhaps got on some rosters with some of these sort of 80s um, festivals and stuff like that. But of course,
Yeah,
it's very difficult to get on those rosters, to be quite honest. And I remember all of us used to say, especially after doing a great gig, which we always felt, didn't we, Andy? I don't think we ever come off stage feeling disappointed in any of our shows.
no. I think we were lucky actually that we were able to do the amount of years that we did getting back together, because I
Yeah,
think getting back together itself was an achievement.
yeah.
And then to be able to we played together for another 8 years, which is like longer than we were together the first time around.
I know. It's
So, and it was real fun, you know.
yeah,
yeah,
Um, but it's always the next stage, you know. You when you do that sort of thing, it's like stages. The first stage is, oh, we're getting back together, and we're stitching the songs back together and all that, and
yeah,
there's the live thing, and it's all kind of fresh and lovely, and but you get through that, and then you feel like, well, now what? You know,
yeah,
like we need the next bit.
yeah,
And eventually we arrived at writing a few new songs, but that took like 8 years to
yeah,
get there, which is
yeah,
fine, you
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah.
And then we did those, it was like, well, now what? Now where? You know.
yeah.
So I think we kind of thought, right, let's sort of, because we all had other things going on. I mean, Mickey had his thing going on, and I had all my stuff going on. So you
Yeah,
know, we
yeah.
kind of stepped back and put more effort into
Yeah,
those.
and that's it. And of course, times change, and then to try and do something, well, anything these days is just so hard. The competition and stuff. I mean, I really love the new stuff that we done.
Yeah.
Um,
But will there be maybe will you get back together again and play again?
I,
I mean,
I think,
I mean, in some form, I guess that it's a possibility. In some form, it probably won't be the same form as we had before,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because you know, Tom's disappeared up north,
Mhm.
and
Oh,
Mike, you know, we're all in different places now. You know,
yeah.
Mickey's
Yeah, I
down
mean,
on the east
that's it.
coast,
I mean,
I'm down on the
yeah,
southwest.
yeah. I mean, the hour that we was on stage was absolutely fantastic. You know, of course, in the latter episode, but as Andy was saying, we're sort of like all dotted about the south of England. So even in order to get to a rehearsal would be sort of quite difficult with the logistics of what we were all doing at the time. You know, but like I say, I would dearly love to get back together and with a completely new approach and do whatever. I mean, the last few recordings we done, Andy, they were great, weren't they?
Yeah,
What was that? What was that one? Firefly, whatever it's called. I can't.
Firefly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was great. I mean, I always thought to myself, "Oh, this could be the." You know, but not saying this.
I think Funganista was fantastic.
that was
I
mad.
thought that was absolutely nuts.
Yeah, I've got to ask you about that one. I know this is Ask the Drummer. It's all about Michael Sparrow, but the mushroom thing,
Yeah,
because you're an expert. You're an
yeah,
expert in mushroom,
yeah.
and I found out. Don't know if you know Phil Wilson of the June Brides.
No.
He's also another expert. About mushrooms and things like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, do you just go and is it forage? Is that what you
No,
say?
no. I'm more of a what they call a field mycologist. So I
Nice.
carry out professional surveys for various organisations, but I've done a lot for the Royal Parks. So like places like Richmond Park and the Kensington Gardens and places like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So it's a
Um,
different thing altogether. You're not foraging. You're not looking for
no, if I
mushroom.
can, if I want to, because I know I know what's what. But
Yeah.
no, that's not my title. No.
Oh, okay, brilliant. So it's more sort of like a professional kind of thing.
Yeah, totally,
Yeah, yeah.
totally. So it's professional. Yeah, and yeah, I've been
A,
doing
a
it.
professional, a professional fun guy.
I feel
Yeah, a
yeah,
professional fun guy. Yeah.
fun guy to be with was what I started. I started back in the 90s was the thing I started then. But I've been doing it. I've been doing this now since the 90s, so nearly 30 something years, a long time. Long
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Um,
haven't actually seen you on social media for a while, like on Facebook. So are you're still on Facebook though? You still
yeah, yes,
posting?
I am. I put lots of birds pictures up now, like
Oh,
'cause I've gotten into photographing birds.
oh right, okay. So
Steady on, Andy. Steady on.
I know, I know, I know, mate. I know. I've got losing the plot, but wobble wobble.
Yeah. I've got to say hello to Gilbert because Gilbert was actually in your show in Manila, and yeah, so he said, just to say hello to you and because I didn't realize because I thought now it was just you. It was actually a full band who went to Manila
Yeah,
and did it. Yeah,
yeah,
not just the singer. Because sometimes they'll just have the singer and then they'll have a
sure,
ready band.
sure.
Fifteen band.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
this was the full complement. Apart from the keyboard player was a bit stitched on, but apart from that,
Yeah, I remember him learning all the parts in his hotel room and
oh my god,
actually
we won't go
really,
into
he
that.
was like
We won't
really,
go into that.
really sweating one afternoon when he had loads of bits of paper next to him. He just said, "Look, just relax and just have a good time, like you know." Uh,
Yeah, I know.
yeah, that was a bit strange. It was still great though, wasn't it? It's fantastic.
Oh,
Worked out.
it doesn't matter. Yeah, it was great. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
Yeah,
but
it was a
I think we probably thought at the time if we're lucky enough to get asked, anywhere with respect, the least we can do is go out there like the full shebang.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
I can recall going back to the late 80s when I was involved in a band. It was a full. It started off as two guys, and then they wanted a full band to form in
Yeah.
lieu of doing like 3 tours and a couple of albums and lots of work. And then that was fine, of which I was a part of. And then they got offered a big, massive tour in America supporting Todd Rundgren. And unfortunately, the funds wasn't there. So the two guys just went out on their own with just two acoustic guitars.
Oh, I see.
So these things happen. Obviously, the logistics and the budgets are a big part of it. And
Yeah, yeah, of
like I
course.
say, earlier, if we are lucky enough to get asked to do something quite meaty, usually usually there's a bill that comes with it.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
That's how it is. It's not a big massive fairy tale like you think,
No.
And it's like in those days when record companies would sign you, like the rock and roll sort of swindle. A record company would sign you, and we'd go out and buy new gear and stuff like that, and spend lots of money on haircuts, uh, whatever. But
Close.
we did, Andy, didn't we? I can remember the record company saying, you've got another TV coming up soon. You need to do this, you need to do that. Go out and buy some flowery shirts, or just embellish this and embellish that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which was fine at the time. But point I'm making is, or these costs are returnable. They're not cleared funds. They're not going to give you you know, like X amount of pound and say thank you, we really love you, that money has got to be paid back. And in which case, lots of acts, they do pay it back, and then they, you know, the record companies or the financial companies will say, yeah, great, you know, this is really working. For many reasons it could work. For many reasons, sometimes it doesn't work. And unfortunately, a lot of companies get shy. So, sort of these days, you have to put stuff out on your own. You know, I record a lot of my stuff literally with a guy just down the road here. He's got all the software and stuff in his bedroom.
Yeah.
You know, the top quality. You know, I've done videos in 4K and editing sort of stuff. I've used drum samples, bass, cellos, you name it. At the time, Andy, wasn't it? It was just like Fostex, sort of like 8-track machines, and cassettes and double and treble tracking stuff. I mean,
just like a guitar, you know, vocals and a little bit of rhythm and stuff. Yeah. Just so that you got the bones of the idea.
Yeah, but of course, you know, you had bands in those days, you know, like sort of Depeche Mode, like early doors. It worked for them because their sound was they were artificial sounds. But don't forget, they had some great songs, and it worked for them. So limited equipment in those days worked for some, you know, acts. Orchestral manoeuvres in the dark. I mean, all their stuff was like on synths, and then of course the Lindrum machine come in, and then, you know, the TR 606 808 come in, and it was like revolutionary at the time, but people sort of laugh at them now. However, a lot of DJs and stuff, modern people use those sounds, or at least use the like samples of those sounds. But that's all we had to play with at the time, you know, and there wasn't massive.
We had loads of places to play.
Yeah, of course. You know,
they don't exist anymore.
No. Tell me that. I only spoke to a guy last night on my Facebook. He sent me 2 set lists that someone had saved from like the Crooks, you know, and they mentioned where the gigs come from. And you had the 101 in Clapham, the Fulham Graham. That was a great gig, Andy, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Fulham Graham was great.
You had the Marquee, the original Marquee down at Wardour Street. There was dozens and dozens and dozens of places. And I think one year, Andy, did we do something like, it was ridiculous, something like 150 gigs or something in one year. Probably 19. Yeah, seriously. We was playing colleges, universities.
Playing like 3 or 4 times a week.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Here, there, and everywhere. Jumping on at the back of the transit van. Sitting on the drum cases and stuff. Getting chicken and chips on the way home, and I mean, you know, but that was great. And like what Andy's saying, there was loads of gigs about. Not massive, you know, like
little venues, yeah,
little venues that maybe they could hold maybe 80 people, 100 people, whatever. But do you remember that little club we played, Andy, in Soho
Street?
The little Gwyn's Rock Store.
Oh yeah, the little stripper club. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like 3 floors up, right in the middle of Soho, and
tiny little place. It was like a little theatre.
What did it hold? Probably 50 people, if that.
About 50. It had like these red velvet seats and tiny little stage.
Tiny little gear up the stairs and whatever. But we used
cool. It was cool.
Them places out, Andy, didn't we?
Oh, it was cool, wasn't it? It was.
I mean, even in the Fulham ground, which was quite big, we used to play there every so often. We had our own Moonlight Club, West Hampstead. We supported you too there, didn't we?
Yeah, and the Associates.
And the Associates, yeah. We supported, you too.
Which I found out, right? The Associates gig that we did with them was very, very rare because they they didn't play many gigs like that.
Right. Yeah.
Because I've been reading up since then. I mentioned it to someone on Facebook, and they went, "Oh wow, you know, you're lucky because they didn't do those gigs."
No. But that was a good venue. The Railway.
I remember Billy McKenzie playing a guitar, and it just had one string on it.
Yeah, I remember for some odd reason you saying that. I remember the bass drum, the drummer's bass drum pedal, the beater fell off or something. So I went and put his beater back in and and wound the nut up on it for him, which is great. Yeah, we supported you two at the Marquee as well, didn't we?
Yeah.
So did you mingle with you two after the, or did you sort of like
Not
socialize?
really.
No.
Not really.
No.
I mean, we had a few words to say, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when we was playing with other bands, whether we were supporting all the headliners, they do sound checks. You sort of disappear. You sort of go into the dress because it's nearly always shared dressing rooms, so they're not very savoury, to be honest. Especially if the first band's just come off. So they were sort of putting their clothes and coats on while we were going in to get changed. And so you don't get lots of time to have a sort of chat.
I remember we were still in the dressing room when they went on stage. They went on stage, and there was only a couple of numbers in, and Bono came off stage, running into the dressing room and put his head out the window because it was so hot. There was no air in the club, you know.
Yeah, I remember that. We also done with name dropping there, haven't we? We also done a TV with the police, didn't we?
Yeah, and I sat down next to Sting. And
we had the same. Did he moan about your boots? He had a comment about your boots or something.
Yeah, we had the same boots on. We had the same boots, and he said, he said, "Where'd you get yours from?" You know. And I said, "Kensington High Street," like, you know. And he said, I said, "What about you?" And he goes, New York.
Yeah, he would do. That was
it's the same.
Every breath you take, wasn't it?
Hey?
That was Every Breath You Take was their single.
Yeah. And I remember him and Stuart Copeland having a bit of a thing, you know. They were, "Oh, you always wind me up to knock me down," and I always remember it.
What song were we doing, Andy, on that show?
Forgive and Forget.
Cowboy?
Was it Forgive and Forget?
Forgive and Forget. No, Forgive and Forget or Cowboy. And what was that? What show was that? Cheggers Plays Pop or something? Or what was it?
Cheggers.
Was it?
Cheggers.
We done Cracker Jack, didn't we?
Cracker Jack. Yeah, we didn't get a pencil though. We asked for a pencil.
No, we met Basil Brush. Was Wham playing that evening? And did we go and see Wham?
We did at Hammersmith Odeon, wasn't
it? Yeah. I thought we did. Yeah, I remember that. So, going to see George Michael and something. Because don't forget, George Michael and Andrew Ridgeley and the Kemp brothers out of Spandau, Boy George, John Moss. I mean, I used to do drum sessions with John Moss. In the very, very early 80s. They was all floating about, Andy, weren't they? In all the Blitz clubs. You know, like in Soho, Downton Vision. Robert Smith and Susie used to get in there. Quite a few, the Kemp brothers.
Were you part of that club? Were you part of the Blitz?
Blitz?
Yeah.
No.
Not really. That was we was around at the time, but we was never as sort of flamboyant as that. We
went out to I used to go clubbing every weekend, you know, like, but I didn't go there. I had to go to places like Legends and Studio 21 and you know, with friends and that. But and you would bump into, I remember going down to, where was it? Planets. There was one called Planets.
Oh, blimey! Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And Boy George was down there, but he wasn't anyone then. He was just just like a flamboyant guy, you know.
Yeah, and of course you had Steve Strange. he used to work on the door at the Camden Palace.
Yeah.
You had Heaven nightclub.
Yeah.
Monday nights at Heaven nightclub was wild and windy. Camden Palace was great. Sort of mid-80s.
Yeah.
I remember seeing Frankie Goes to Hollywood there do like a 15-minute slot, of which was really impressionable because they had a ridiculous sound system in the Camden Palace, which I can remember. The big, massive, great like boxes. And I remember when Relax was played, that was enormous. You knew that this was a big sort of turning point in music, just to see the whole place erupt. With that bottom end, Trevor Horn, that bottom end. And to see like 2,000 kids moving to that was quite electrifying, to be honest. But like I'm saying, there were some great places to play around at that time, but it's all sort of changed now, and I mean it's sort of like there's a lot of wine butter we rolling up of. So I sound really posh now. My sound guy, he's giving me a thing. I think it looks like we're sort of running out of something or other in there.
Well, before I start, so thank you so much, Andy, for joining us. Because you still have time, Michael?
My guy is putting his thumb up. Yeah, absolutely. If it dies a death, then it's not me being horribly rude.
Okay. But thank you so much for joining us. We'll have to sort of ask Michael about the other bands that he was in after Blue Zoo. Because you finished, what year did you end Blue Zoo when you split up? Was it 83,
84?
I think it was about 84. Yeah, I think Cowboy. Was that the last sort of single we done at that particular time?
Yeah.
That was the Cracker. That was the Crackerjack episode. Right. I remember at the end they used to get all the artists on and all who was featured on the show at the end to have a little bit of a sort of mess about. And I remember doing like a punk pogo at the end of the show for some odd reason. I think we done something in France after that, didn't we, Andy?
Oh yeah, we did. We went and did a little French thing, didn't we?
Yeah.
They liked it, didn't they? They liked Cowboy, didn't they?
Yeah. Was that with Milton on guitar?
Yeah, that's right.
I think yeah. We had one guy in who decked for us. I don't know what happened to Tim Parry. He's probably busy. We had a guy come in called. His nickname was Milton because there was 3 Nicks in the band. He's now actually playing for. He's the main guitarist in Take That, Gary Barlow. He's been with them for many years. At least I would say between 6 and 10 years. He's been with them all. Yeah. So he was great. We done slightly out of the Blue Zoo thing. I was involved in a band, 88, a band called the Boomerang. The Boomerang Gang, the Boomerang Gang, the Boomerang. So slightly different setup. It was still Tim Parry on guitar, Mike Ansel on bass. We had another couple of guys in. We had one single out. We recorded, which got quite a few radio plays, and it's quite very popular in a lot of the colleges and universities. It was called Rock Out, of which there's a great guitar solo. It was originally called. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
The original idea, which came up by the singer Matthew, who's no longer with us, Matthew Bryan. The original title was called "Rock Out with Your Cock Out."
Oh, right. Okay.
Of which we used like synthesizers. Out with your cock out. That sort of type thing. But I was fortunate. My Hansel and I was fortunate enough to hear that being randomly played at the Camden Palace. That sounded great.
So
Boomerang Gang.
what were you doing at the time, Andy, when they were, because two of the members of Blue Zoo became the Boomerang Gang.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
did you
didn't quite
pursue a
know what
solo
was going on.
career? Was
It was a bit of a weird time, actually. It's a very weird time. I think the record company, they wanted to hold on to me, and see whether they could get me sort of
a
going
solo?
into a solo career,
Yeah,
you know. But I weren't really into it, you know. So I kind of messed it all up. I didn't want to be a solo artist. I always wanted to be part of a band,
yeah,
and I've always done that. So I did that following on once I got out of the record deal, because I basically wrote a load of terrible songs, and and eventually they let me go. I just and then I went on to form a couple of other bands, you know.
Oh, okay. Well, they do the Boomerang Gang, and then also the two other members of the Boomerang Gang were then Big Bamboo, the
Yeah,
one that you played drums with.
yeah,
In,
yeah. They funny enough, that when I said earlier about the two guys who got the deal,
yeah,
that was Big Bamboo, and they asked me to, they'd already recorded the album, and they asked me to go down just to do some drum overdubs and like cymbal crashes and tambourines and bongos, all
yeah,
this sort of stuff. And then the record company went, yeah, great. We're looking at doing a good couple of tours, get a band together. So literally just auditioned a keyboard player in and a bass player,
yeah.
Finian Day Lewis and Daniel Byro. So we got a band together, and in like 1 year we done it was like 3 tours, 2 albums, and 5 singles in 1 year.
Yeah, and you were
Um,
on Logan as well. I saw that. I saw that clip on YouTube that
yeah,
you played on Logan.
it was the Wogan show, but it was actually Sue Lawley who was stepping in, because I think Terry Wogan was on holiday or somewhere or another.
Yeah,
But that was like 1988.
yeah,
And then, like I say, they got offered this big, massive tour with Todd Rundgren. It was a big tour, like sort of 3 months or whatever. And the record company said, well, no, it's just Simon and Dave going out with their acoustic guitars and their ghetto blaster. That's how they actually got the record deal, because I was going around all the record companies, just 2 guitars,
yeah.
2 acoustic guitars, and literally a ghetto blaster. And that's how they won the deal. But it was just a little bit disappointed, because we was all, the musicians were called up to the management office and said, like, we've got this big tour, but it's just Simon and Dave going.
All right. Are you okay to stay with us, Andy? So just because I'm sure you know a lot about Michael as well. Because the next question I wanted to ask Michael is, this is from your website, Michael. Apparently you had like a near-death experience.
Yes, that was on one of the tours, which was Big Bamboo. One of the tours we was supporting Voice of the Beehive.
Oh yeah.
If you can remember them, that American couple of lady singers, American band, and it was Woody on drums, who played for Madness. He was the Madness drummer on drums. So we were doing like this tour, the second from last, the penultimate date on this particular tour. We've decided to celebrate the tour at the management office in central London, and I decided to sit on a glass coffee table, of which wasn't a great idea, because the coffee table collapsed, and 27 stitches and 5 pints of blood later, I nearly lost my right leg through it.
Oh, did you know about that, Andy? Did you?
Yeah, I did.
Were you
I knew.
aware?
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Horrendous.
The ridiculous thing was is that I was told off in hospital that I shouldn't have pulled the glass out, and I said, "Well, it's late now, isn't it?" But they was talking about amputating the leg the following morning, because I did do a lot of damage, and I recall knowing the adrenaline kicks in, it bypasses like the shock, and I recall I actually felt as though I was flying, and it was quite peaceful, and I felt no pain. But there was this dreamscape thing going around me where everyone in slow motion was just like hysterical. And I'm thinking, what's all the fuss about, you know? And then the next thing I know, it was like a day later, I've sort of come to, and there was all these doctors looking around me saying that they may have to amputate my right leg. And I thought, how am I going to play the bass drum? Honestly, that seriously, that was the first thing that came into my mind. Obviously, we had to cancel the gig that evening.
Yeah.
But I did. I was featured on a video during that week, which the one of the roadies used to set the equipment up. He actually held me on my drum stool. He was crouching down behind me, holding my waist so that I could actually balance myself on the drum stool.
Oh gosh.
That was the track that was on Wogan, Shooting from the Heart, it was called.
Yeah.
Like I say, I nearly overdosed on Lucozade because where I'd lost so much blood. I did have a transfusion, and I was on iron, and they said, look, if you're doing anything, just take plenty of sugar. Lucozade is a good one. And I remember like being high as a kite on Lucozade during the video shoot. I was lucky. It started taking its toll a little bit on me now, with my lower back and legs and all that. But thank the heavens, it wasn't fatal. They kept my wife in overnight as well. She was in shock.
Yeah. Don't sit on glass coffee tables anymore. Stay away from.
Well, that's the thing. Apparently these days they use like toughened glass and all. If I ever go in anyone's house and there's like a table, especially if it's a period one, and also especially if there's children, it is horrific. I don't, they look at me as I'm being very, very dramatic, and it was like, no, you get rid of that now.
Yeah.
So yeah, lucky to still be about. They managed to stitch up. We was only 5 minutes from the hospital in central London, so they managed to sew my main artery up, try and get all the nerves back together. I went through about 75% of all my nerves going in the right leg, and the trouble is, if a limb is deprived with blood and oxygen and nerves and all the rest of it, it can actually die, which can be fatal as well. But they tested me after a couple of days, and everything seemed to have been working, so they just let me on.
Brilliant. And you're okay. So now and of course you're still playing drums, right? You're still.
Yeah. As luck goes, the thing is, I can't really feel my right leg, if that makes any sense. But the signal still comes from my brain to my right leg to play the bass drum, which is really odd. But I can't actually feel my leg. If I was to stick a knife in the back of my leg, I can't actually feel it. There's no
sensation there.
No, there's no sensation there whatsoever. But the signal's still getting through. Whereas I can walk and I can still drive and I can still play the bass drum. Though more often these days, I enjoy playing like percussion. I've got bongos, congas. I've got some India tabla drums, which I enjoy. So I do like just sort of sitting down, kneeling down, crouching down, just playing percussion.
When was the last time you saw each other or played together?
Well, Andy and I.
Yeah.
Would have been the end of 2018, wasn't it?
Yeah. Must have been. Yeah.
Oh God, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, we'll have to write some more songs, Andy.
I know, mate.
or share some lyrics and get together or whatever. I mean, Simon of Big Bamboo. I mean, we've been talking to together on and off for many years. He's now set up in France. He's got a recording studio in France, and that would just be nice just to go out, just to jam, really.
Yeah. I know that you're all busy with all your different stuff, but you must miss it though. You must miss being on stage.
Oh yeah, you do.
Yeah, you can't beat it. As I said a little while ago, when you come off stage and you're sweating buckets and stuff like that, and also if you've done a great one with not too many mistakes in it, you feel like $1 million.
Yeah, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it.
No, honestly, and then you sort of you get home and then do whatever you've got to do. I mean, always obviously number one, I put my drums to bed so that they're safe, and then I watch a bit of music or YouTube or whatever. It could be a bit of classical music, whatever, and I'll open up a can of beer because 90% of all the shows we've done, I'd have to sort of drive anyway, especially in the latter episode. So, but alcohol and adrenaline are two completely different things. You can't beat that buzz. When you play good on stage and people are into it, honestly, you feel like a king. And that's that's nothing to do with alcohol. That's just adrenaline. And I love being a bit of a show, obviously. And Andy being a front man, when you've got a sea of people looking at you, or even if it's 15 people looking at you and they're loving it, it's so rewarding. You can't get that out of playing a game of darts, really. Me personally.
Do you still go to gigs yourself, and do you go and see the bands?
I went to see Confidence Man. Do you know Confidence Man?
Yeah. There were some good write-ups about that, weren't there?
Yeah, I saw them at Brixton Academy
right.
in December, and because I saw that.
Do people recognize you when you go and see?
No. I mean, no, but no, not that I'm aware. Not that I'm aware.
Yeah. For me, I mean, I'm just linked up with like YouTube and stuff like that. I mean, my wife hides in the lounge with all the lights on, watching regular TV. I've always had a mood room, or with a better term, like a man cave. I'll watch like Daffy Duck or Laurel and Hardy. I've still got a cine camera with a screen, so I watch silent movies and stuff like that. But I've got a reasonable TV, so Alexa's great. I do love Alexa. So whenever I feel like listening to anything, whatever mood I'm in, I'll just say, Alexa, play The Stranglers. And within a microsecond, you're where you want to be, sort of type thing. Where I'm located in the world. Well, and Andy's been here a couple of times. We have done some bits and bobs around here. I'm in a really old, historic, medieval village on the sort of eastern part of Essex. It's really quite it's not really a sleepy town. There's a few odd characters, like 3 pubs, couple of shops and all that sort of thing. In the summer, it's very, very busy. It's quite cabaret around here because there's a lot of holiday parks around, see. But to be honest, I don't really... A
lot of work for Mickey down there, see.
I'm going to ask you, because now that you're not really drumming full time, you're an artist, and I've seen some of the artworks that you've done, and you paint, because you paint and you do collages and all those things.
That started off. It wasn't really. A lot of people think it was something to do with the lockdown thing. It wasn't. I mean, I've done quite a few pictures in that time, but I started doing a few collages, just basically cutting things out, gluing them together, maybe using a bit of aerosol around it, and just seeing what happens. But I've found a lot of people have been very, very encouraging, that they've actually seen quite a lot of depth in the stuff that I've done, and I don't know where it's. I almost feel like I've been possessed, really. So I don't know where it's come from. I was never really artistic at school, or this has all really been in the last sort of handful of years, maybe 8-10 years maximum. But up to date, I've probably got best part of like 1,000 paintings now.
Oh wow!
I'm doing like daily. I'll find a little space. I don't know why. I've got a little physical space, much to my wife's displeasure, in the kitchen, where I've commandeered like a square metre. Where I do all my art and everything. In the rest of our home, I've done nothing. I don't get no inspiration from anywhere else in the building, apart from this little square space in the kitchen. And normally between 3 o'clock in the afternoon and 7 p.m. I do probably 98% of my stuff. I don't know why. It's just like a little, like a sort of wave. I sort of feel like I've sort of placed myself, or someone's placed me in like a field, and there's like some form of like pyramid around me where I'm capturing all this energy and influx of however. I mean, I've done some random things. I don't know. People come up and say, I like that because I can see this and can see that and can see that. Which is not intentional, and usually I can't see what they're talking about, which is very I can't. And a lot of it's quite sinister. There's a lot of darkness. It's a bit moody. Some of it is perhaps bordering on slightly demonic things, but I do try and counterbalance it with some sort of childlike humour thrown in. Not because I feel I have to. It's just a part of the whole makeup. But yeah, my daughter Sam has helped me build up a website and an Instagram, and I'm getting a load of likes, and I've actually sold quite a few as well, which is really rewarding. I normally do about 6 shows a year. I've got one coming up locally in February. I'm playing Brighton again. I've got 2 days in Brighton at the end of June. There's this fantastic venue basically on the beach called Dalton's venue, which is on 4 floors. They give me the ground floor, which actually encroaches onto the beach, which is about 150 metres from the pier. And of course, I see hundreds and hundreds of people walk past, so I've got that again this year. And it's so rewarding when people come. I've got this little comments book, and when people write things in there, it's really nice. I get quite emotional at times. It's quite weird that they're actually really enjoying it, sometimes even more than what I am, if that makes any sense, because they've really seen something in it. And so I've got this book, and of course, if I make a sale, that it's so rewarding, and I've got a good team around me. I've got like a sort of mentor, really nice lady called Duffy Tomei, who runs a driftwood gallery in a village up the road from me. I've got a printer who does all my prints, so I take him down all my glueys, I call them, all the originals, of which he manages to scan and put in a portfolio. I've got like 8 portfolio books with over 100 pictures in each. So there's a guy I record with up the road called Joe Ortiz, American guy who helps me. I still do work with Andy Chamberlain. Andy.
Yeah, good.
Still do some bits with him as and when I can get to sort of North London. So I've got a really good team around me. Even the guy next to me, we've started this podcast thing the other night. He's essentially a DJ rapper. He writes his own stuff and all that. Me being sort of artist drummer, we're setting up a podcast where we're actually interviewing each other.
Oh, okay.
And Jim's like 8 years old. No, how old are you, Jim? You're 28. So Jim's like 28, and I am considerably older. Eclectically miles apart, but we're definitely on the same page. And the good thing is that we both listen to each other as well, which is really important. Like I say, Jim's with me now, helping me out with all the microphone and the blah blah blah.
Thanks for doing that. Yeah.
I mean, it's great. I mean, I can't record on my own. I get ideas. I'm sure Andy does. With like vocal sound or effects or whatever. I can't do it all on my own. I have ideas in my head, but I need someone to do the technical button side of it. It's not my thing. I never really got into drum machines. I do use them from time to time. I do use samples. I have ideas and effects, but for some odd reason, I haven't shied away from them. But like I say, it's not my thing. If you've got a feature film, you've got a writer, you've got an actor, you've got a designer, you've got a sandwich maker. It's all part of the team. You don't get one guy that does everything. So,
Yeah.
like I say, I've got a team around me now that I feel very, very comfortable with because they get me. I mean,
Yeah,
I haven't.
I've got to say that your website is absolutely beautiful. I
Thank you.
think you need to do more blogs because I think there's only three blogs there, and it's like
Yeah, we are.
2023, so you've
Well,
got to do
yeah,
more. So
we are in the my said daughter. She's got a little. She's got a baby, and she's got another baby due in about 3 months. So her
oh,
time is, So I basically, to be honest, I don't. She's totally on my page, and but I don't really want to be honest, I don't really want to use anyone else at this point because she's great, and I'm thinking, yeah, let's just ride it a little bit, give it another few months. There's no panic. I'm not panicking because of the lack of material, but yet there's certainly things need updated. She started a TikTok channel
yeah,
for me as well. I do all these ridiculous videos in my back garden where I dress up as people, and I've got an
oh,
amalgamation of hats and things. And I've got
yeah,
this TikTok channel, and I've had a ridiculous amount of likes and followers, tenfold, tenfold. Whatever I've done, music
yeah,
wise
yeah.
and
Got to
art
points.
wise. So
There's no,
yeah, so there's a handful of platforms that need to be updated, uh,
yeah,
of
yeah,
which of which I feel quite comfortable in just um,
yeah.
sitting on the back seat. I'm writing all the time. I'm progressing all the time.
Yeah.
Give
Well,
it another few months,
another
then
thing,
we'll get something picked up by summer
yeah.
or the autumn. I mean, I'm doing a load of recording. I've got 14 tracks that I've recorded. I've got about 9 videos that are practically there.
Any
So
collaboration with Andy with Andy overall on the tracks that you're doing, or is it just
no,
solo?
no, it's no. Weirdly enough, it's. I mean, I've got a collection of people on 2 or 3 of the tracks. I've got a couple of lady friends that are actually my daughter's friends that have actually got really good voices, and songs that I write that are not sort of right for me. I have done some vocals on a few of them, of which I'm sort of fairly happy with them. People are
Yeah,
saying that they're great, they're fabulous, and all this sort of stuff. So I'm quite happy, sort of experimenting with different sounds, and it's quite eclectic. At the Brighton thing, I've got a 6-track sample film that I've done. It's about
yeah.
half an hour. Can you see this? This is the artwork for the album. I don't know if you'd be able to see that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It,
Oh,
what's it called?
brilliant.
It's called, that's a collage, a post-genetic
From
silver, Michael Arthur Sparrow. That is the actual artwork for the album. Have you got
yeah,
that?
and that's you who did the art. Or
Yeah,
yes, yeah, that's
yeah.
your artwork.
That's
Yeah,
that's one of my I feel like the guy on Spinal Tap with a guitar, don't even look at it. So this is the original artwork. So hopefully, in some form of legacy to my daughters, hopefully, if anything happens to my musical career in the near future, this is the original artwork to the album and the film.
yeah, yeah. Well,
So yeah, I don't know. I'm not even thinking or dreaming about reviews or anything. I want to get to that point where I'm happy with it, and then
yeah.
I'm gonna float it out to the mad world and just see what sort of reaction I'll get. Really,
Well, I
It's,
also want to ask you about your book of poems because there's one thing on your website that I really like, and you said that everyone should write something, even if you never show anyone. I really like that because it's like lyrics, isn't it? Poems. It's like, I mean, there's a couple of poems there, sample poems from your book,
yeah.
called "The Glazed Vision Works." Has that been published, or is that available to
No,
buy, or
my
is it just
no, my like I say, my printer guy mate. I went to him a while back with
yeah,
literally a big box of papers going back probably maybe 50 years. Bits of paper, wallpaper, cigarette boxes, menus, serviettes, everything you can think of, right? So I went in there and I said to him, can you, all these ideas here, can you print them all out into a book? And he put his head in his hands and thought, how the hell am I going to do this? He done it for me. So just for pure self-entertainment, that is the book. Not been published, not been self-published. I had about maybe 20 copies printed, of which I've still got a handful indoors, and I can't recall writing a lot of that. Some of that stuff I've done in a little period of bipolar disorder. I went through a horrible stage of bipolar disorder, anxiety, mental health sort of issues. But I wrote quite a lot of that stuff within that. And there are words, and there is a glossary and a preface in that I don't actually recall writing, and I don't understand quite a lot of it, which sounds a bit odd. So I've learned from that sort of stage that the brain is quite bigger than what we think, and especially if they're words that I am unaware of, those words are coming from somewhere. So more often than not, I sort of I don't know. I sort of believe in it in an odd sort of way that there are third parties outside of our brain where we can be, for the want of a better term, they're like a medium. If you go to like a spiritualist sitting and they're having a seance and they get someone from the other side, as an example, I feel as though I'm receiving messages from a third party. I don't know how or why. I don't know how it works. I don't think science actually understands that. You know what I mean? Another example, like Mozart, for instance. I mean, I've got a lot of time. I do listen to classical music. I couldn't listen to it all evening. I'd have to put Black Sabbath on or something, and I have to cut things up. I can't listen to one artist for a day. I just chose Mozart as an example of maybe some of his works. It could be Beethoven or one of those classical guys that unfinished works. Sounds like a bit of a cliche. Something they never quite finished. And then I've sort of come along as a sort of go-between agent. Oh, we found this guy who's quite sensitive to all that. Let's give him all our unfinished works and see if he can do something with them. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Sort of. Yeah, I feel like a bit of a go-between. I don't personally, I would never preach or condone anything like that. I don't personally feel 100% that 100% of everything that I'm doing comes from just inside my own mind. I believe I'm getting
the outside
waves coming in elsewhere. Yeah, waves elsewhere. I can sense if someone is thinking about me. I can sense if someone's looking at me, even if there's no eye contact and stuff like that. In these latter years, that comes across quite strong. I've become very moody and humpy as well, which I suppose comes with age and stuff. I haven't really got a lot of time for wits and idiots and drunkards and all that sort of thing.
Well, what about you, Andy? Do you still write lyrics or
no?
No, you're not.
No, I stopped the ideas because the thing is, you get into a routine where you're constantly looking for ideas, and it can be really annoying, to be honest, because you're just constantly doing it. So I just stopped it.
Yeah.
Well,
it just comes like most singers probably, or most singer-songwriter, they just have this idea, sometimes in a dream, and then they just write it down and things.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a
sometimes.
lot, that is a good question. Sometimes I'm more of a sort of uh, an odist, if you like. But I can sit by an idyllic spot. There's some lovely idyllic spots around there with please day a blank canvas. I'll do nothing, you know, and then the following day I could do two or three, you know. Um, in terms of songs and very, very, very draining lyrics, it takes me forever. I'm never really overly happy with them. Things like odes. I done a thing yesterday. I just painted this like weather vane. You know, you've got your triangle, north, south, east, west. But I've done this, done the triangle, but I put north, south, east, south. I decided to put two south on it. You know, and I think I really like that. And it's just on a piece of paper. Uh, it's not artistically great. It's pretty sort of naive. But I like the fact is that why why have I put two souths? There's no such thing as two souths. And, well, why not? There can be. Well, there is now because I've put two souths on it. So, as an example, that's those little flamboyant twitches come to me a lot easier than writing a lyric to a song. Because if you've got a song, you've got at least three verses. You've got what we feel we've got to have a hook line, have a chorus, and a section in the middle which has got to go down another avenue apparently, and you've got to have another breath in terms of maybe a solo. It's all very, very constructed, but to go down that road, it's very, very hard work, and you can't just sit down with a pen and write a lyric. Might be a couple of words or a phrase or a title. I've got hundreds of titles, and I've got nothing to go with them. They're just not.
Is that the same? Is that the same with you, Andy? That
Yeah,
you can't
yeah.
just
I
sit
mean,
down and
they normally
write
come.
a song.
Not, hey.
You can't just sort of like sit down and say, "Okay, I'm going to write a song," or
No, don't.
no. Okay.
I mean, I did that. When I was writing songs on the guitar. I used to pick the guitar up and just see what came out on the guitar. But I don't do that. I don't do that often. So I often come up with lyrical ideas, and then just have a rhythm and a sort of a sound, and I just follow it. I just follow it, and sometimes the words aren't fully formed. They just sound like something, and then I find the words that fit the sound, and then just work around that.
Yeah, that's our funganist pattern, didn't it, Andy?
Yeah. Yeah.
But by the way, my device is staying like a couple of minutes. So yeah.
Okay,
That's
so
okay.
I've got to ask you this final questions now. Because there's one of them. It's like, do you twirl when you play the drums?
Do what? Sorry.
Do you twirl the sticks when you play the drums? Is it part of it? Because
you do sometimes.
Some kind of showmanship.
It's a terrible, tacky thing to do. Sometimes I do. Yeah.
Yeah. You've got to it. You've got to do that.
I think it was Nick Tucker in the Sweet done that. I tell you what, I actually enjoy more so than that is sticking the drumsticks up my nose. That's quite funny because people actually look at you and they sort of half smile. They don't know if it's funny or if it's not funny. But I think that's really funny.
That's a Sparrow antic.
Yeah. The trouble being is, if the sticks are too wide, it can actually split your nostrils.
Okay.
No, that's like a sort of like a rock music sort of type, blonde, big, massive hair, 80s thing, isn't it? I suppose. I can't mention any bands, but I can actually do it, but I don't.
It's called giving it the big un.
Yeah. I don't know. I like I said earlier, I'm more into when people are at the front of the stage and they're focused on you. That to me, that beats all that sort of stuff, stick twirling. And like I say, when you do a good drum fill, I know I've done a good drum fill, and I think, yeah, you know, I feel like a king, you know. I know I
Yeah.
said that. I know I said that earlier, but it's a feeling that never goes away, you know.
Yeah. Okay. What
So
about drumming heroes? Do you have any drumming heroes?
drumming, John Bonham, Led Zeppelin, Ian
Oh,
Pace, Deep
yeah.
Purple. Yeah, I'm essentially a rocker. I think Blue Zoo. I think the omelette of Blue Zoo was quite eclectic in the different sort of music genres that we all liked, but it worked in a favourable way. Me being a sort of rocker, I think Mike Ants was a bit more sort of dancey-fied. Uh,
Tommy.
well, yes, Dave Wolfson. I can't describe him.
Are you
Someone,
happy? Are you happy to be put in a genre as new wave?
Yeah, it's fine.
yeah, absolutely. Because,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, because I think we was more. Well, no, I know we was more new wave
We were a
than new
strange
romantic.
mix.
Yeah, new romantic. I mean, yeah, new wave opened a lot of doors for a lot of big artists. uh, of which I think we should be proud to be a part of that. You
Yeah.
know, I don't think we was ever classed as uh, anything else really. I don't really know. But we was never classed as a rock band. I think Rusty Egan called us a rock band, didn't he, Andy?
He said, "You're too loud.
Too loud. I thought
Too loud."
I thought you were going to come out and play. I can't remember one of the songs you said. We sounded like Bon Jovi or something, or I can't remember
Yeah,
what.
yeah. Because he was talking about we were doing a gig for us. We were going to do a gig with him in Portobello Road. Do you remember?
Oh yeah.
And he said, "Ah, you're too loud. You're too loud."
We were good. We were good. We still can be good. Be nice to do something in the future, Andy.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Before we
okay,
get
my final
74.
question. My final question to you now, Michael, is
Yeah.
what would be your advice to drummers, aspiring drummers out there?
Um, I'll relay to what Phil Collins said to me once. I met him briefly at,
Oh,
at this West End thingamajig, and he went, "Oh, the drums. Stick to your dream, boy. Never give it up." He said, "Because all these drum machines are going to come in. Never give your dream up. Always play a real kit." And I've never forgotten that. Yeah,
brilliant!
yeah.
Wow.
That's,
From Phil
I
Collins.
also remember Dave Grohl saying something like, garage bands don't happen. We were a garage band. He was never flash. He's not flash in my mind. Look where we are now from being a garage band. It was real. The chemistry was there. The sweat was there. Real instruments.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's what I would say
Yeah,
to even drummers who want to start, later on in life. Get a real kit and make a load of noise and make the air move and get some good people around you that you can feed off of.
yeah, yeah.
You can't just sit in a room with a drum kit forever on your own.
Try to be the best
Even,
one.
even playing your favourite songs on headphones. You need that interaction with a bass player. You need that
Yeah,
interaction with a vocalist who moves about and a guitarist. You need those people to fire you up.
yeah.
Otherwise, your shoes are just melting to the carpet.
That's right. Well, final question to both of you then.
Yeah.
Will we ever see you both on stage? Will we ever see Blue Zoo again on stage?
Whoa.
Maybe.
I would dearly love to. Um, but going back to, I mean, artistically, I'd love to do it tomorrow. But I think Andy agrees. Sort of logistically, it'd be a bit difficult.
At
I
the
mean,
moment, I can't see it at the moment. Can you?
not really. I don't think Mike would sort of be up for it. No, I can't see it at the moment. It
But
sounds
you never know. You never
no,
Yeah.
know.
you
Never
ne-
say never.
No.
never say never, but it sounds probably sort of quite horrible and tacky and money orientated, which is not. When I said a while ago about sponsors and stuff like that, if a big agent or sponsor offered us a big meaty opportunity, I think that would certainly make us a little bit more encouraged to think about something. But like
Yeah,
I say, don't get me wrong. Oh, we'd only do it if like for the money. It's. Don't get me wrong. I perhaps haven't explained that properly. Do you know what I mean? But I think if we had an opportunity to do something, if like say the Philippines, if we used to get asked back there to do something on those lines, I think we'd love to do it, Andy, wouldn't we?
Don't know. I'd have to think.
oh, oh, fuck it! I'll go out on my own then. No, no, no. I can only speak. I can only speak personally. I still feel, hand on heart, quite a bit disappointed that we never sort of got further than we did. You know what I mean? So I've still got a big space in my heart, genuinely, that it was never resolved, personally. So I would certainly think about it.
yeah. You'll never know. I mean,
Yeah,
maybe there'll be an opportunity to sort of like go back in the Philippines or maybe do another sort of like
yeah,
tour, like Blue
yeah.
Zoo tour.
But it's like what Andy said earlier. To get the original format would be completely impossible. Obviously, like with Tim Parry,
Yeah,
my counsel, I'm pretty unsure. Uh, Tom, I don't think is about. Yeah, to get that embryonic
chemistry. Is
Cool.
it?
spark
Yeah,
relived
yeah.
again, extremely not impossible, but that would be extremely difficult to get that going again. But yeah, so I'm going to go and have a pint now.
Okay. Well, thank you so much
We're
to both
actually
of you.
we're actually in my local bar. We're in the first floor of my local bar. I literally live about 50 metres down the road.
Oh
So
wow.
this is a nice room. There's lots of aura in here.
Yeah, yeah,
There's
yeah.
lots of paranormal stuff going on in here as well, uh, which is
Well, I
good.
really do hope that I'll get to meet both of you again, and I'll get to see you both. Maybe do
Yeah.
some acoustic set or something.
Well, I've
Yeah.
got my
With
bongo.
the
I've
with
got
the
my bongo
bongos,
with
yeah, with the
Andy.
bongos, and just your vocals and
I've got
stuff.
my bongo. I've still got the tambourine. I've still got 4 drum kits. I've still got loads. I've got congas, tabla, all sorts.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll do something soon.
Okay. All
I'm
right.
pretty
Well, thank
sure.
you so much. Thank you
Yeah.
very much, Andy, and thank
Lovely
you
to
very
see you
much,
both.
Mike. Nice to see you again. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Good to see you,
hopefully.
Mickey.
And you, Andy. I'll see you when you're 74.
Okay, mate. At the
Happy New
door.
Year to you both. Okay.
Thank you,
Bye.
Anna.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Anna.
Bye. Bye. Oops. Sorry, I put you back on. Oh, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. That was just absolutely amazing. And thank you to Blue Zoo. I really love this band. You don't know, because when you're a teenager and you're into this newer music, this is, you feel like it's your music. So blues is kind of like one of my bands in the 80s. So yeah, thank you so much. That's the first time I've done it with a special guest joining us live. I'm glad that he stayed until the end. um, and yeah, apologize for the glitch earlier in the show, but we will edit it to put the two together, the two segments together. But once again, thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed it. I mean, to my fellow Filipino new wavers, if you can't, so like, if you weren't able to join us live today, it will be on YouTube, edited version, so you don't have to get that looping sound. Sometime tomorrow, maybe, hopefully. We'll see what my tech support, if we can do it this evening. But anyways, thank you all so much. Happy New Year to everyone. 2025. I really have a good feeling about this year. I think it's going to be a good year. So please do keep an eye out for our next guest. We'll be back again next week, and I think it's going to be another late one because I've got to go somewhere next Sunday. So yeah, as always, love music, love life, love drummers, love Blue Zoo. Thank you so much once again to Michael Sparrow and to Andy Overall, and I hope to see you all again next week. Bye for now, everyone. Bye.